Mark,
Hey,
wow, you're actually you're not surprised.
mm, no, they had some lag on my end too.
They have been the multitudes have been waiting for the day that you were not surprised that I came to you at the beginning of one of these. So
I'm glad it finally happened.
yeah,
My heart
exactly.
can't take much more.
We have loads of stuff to talk about this week on our deep dive. We have a couple entries into the House of Brainiac, and we have the next step on our countdown to absolute power. And we get to all of that right after this. Before we get started, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you're alerted whenever we upload new stuff here onto this channel. Make sure you leave a comment for us, and don't forget to like while you're here. Just hit the little like button, but comment especially because we want to know what you're thinking of House of Brainiac and the countdown up to absolute power. Because it's all starting to dovetail now. It's every single week now. There's more and more that's kind of coming together. So, um, but we're going to start with the House of Brainiac, um, part number 3. The true, not any of the tie-ons. This is actually the third chapter in the House of Brainiac, in Action Comics number 1065. We see lots of stuff here, both in the main story and in the backup. We got lots of stuff that's going on here. So, and the end of the first story takes kind of a surprise turn for us. But we start basically with Brainiac talking to Supergirl and Alex, and kind of explaining some of the things that he's doing. But then we quickly switch out to Superman and Lobo out in space. So, and we basically see them starting to do their battle with General Chakal, and he Superman convinces Lobo to steal one of their motorcycles, their space motorcycles, and they zip off, going to trying to catch Brainiac's ship, basically.
Yeah, they realize that this is pretty much just a big distraction. The Zornian army is all meant to distract, destroy, and cause chaos, while Brainiac is able to focus on his goal. So they kind of get a cool fight scene, a lot of cool action there. Superman's rocking like the deep space suit, which is always fun to get little suit designs and updates. It always reminds me of like the Adventures of Superman
Hmm.
from like the '90s and stuff. So again, Joshua Williamson, you can really tell he has a love for that era. And then we get back to Brainiac's ship where we see our escapees. We have
Hmm.
Connor, aka Superboy, and Kara, aka Supergirl, have escaped from their glass prison, but they're still shrunken. So they're perusing around the ship, trying to figure out where to go to make their next move, and they realize they're stuck small. And now we get to see the Doomsday Hounds, which we haven't seen in a while. They're kind of sniffing them out. So they're just hopping around, figuring out what to do, and they decide we should tap some extra help here. We have Livewire and we have Parasite. They're full size right there being tortured by Brainiac. So maybe, just maybe, if they want out, they'll help us.
Right. So Supergirl basically convinces Livewire to escape their bonds, and her and Parasite go through the ship. They kind of wonder how they know where they're going, and Supergirl says, "I've been on the Brainiac ships before. They're all it's kind of like a cookie cutter type of a ship, you know."
Yeah, they're all the same. With someone with such a high intellect,
Yeah.
designing the layout of a ship is a passing thought. So it's always the same, which means the armory is always in the same place. So they go straight there. They stockpile up, and now they have a fighting chance against this army of brainiacs. Of course, you get a couple step up to the plate, wrap them up, and everything, and it's kind of a short-lived fight.
Yeah, because Brainiac manages to capture them again. He has basically Supergirl. He has this really kind of heartfelt one-on-one with Supergirl, where he basically starts to say that there are things that he has learned. she calls him cold-blooded, and he says, "I'm not as cold-blooded as you think." What happens is they then switch to Lex, who's in a lab, and you can see inside one of these bottle cities is Kolu, from which is Brainiac's home planet. So it's a city from Kolu. So that's when you basically get to realize, as he uses what he does to other people to enlarge it. He enlarges the city of Kolu. It ends up being at the top of, or the top of Brainiac's ship, and that's when they realize that, okay, you know what? He basically still has some feelings, for as many feelings as he can anyway.
He's exploring them. We know that he
Right.
has a queen that's under construction, and a queen needs a kingdom. So I think that's what this might be. It might be a gesture, a
Mhm.
much needed gesture when she comes online.
Right. Um, and then we switch back to Lobo and Superman, and they made up with a character that we don't see often enough. That is Space
Space
Cabbie.
Tabby.
Right. So he basically is there, and they're talking about what they need to do, and he's talking about the fact that it wasn't just on Earth that Brainiac has gone to and captured all of these people with powers. He's gone to planet to planet to planet to planet, capturing people with powers, and that's when Superboy, I'm sorry, Superman and Lobo first find out. Chakal shows up. They have this big, argument, one-on-one thing. Jakal basically tells Lobo, "Hey, look, you know what? You may be
Yeah, you may think that we're
yeah,
out to help Brainiac. We're out to help ourselves. We're surviving here, and to survive, we need strong leadership. I'm getting old, and your reputation precedes you. We're not trying to take you out, Lobo. We're trying to take you down and bring you home, kind of thing, to our fold of these crazy Lassaronians. And if you want to step up and be the leader, you got it." And Lobo, shockingly to nobody, takes him up on the offer, and it turns to the Boy Scout, and that's where we end the issue with Chakal and Lobo facing down Superman. We'll see
right,
how this goes.
exactly, and that'll happen in next week's Superman number 14. The backup story basically has to do with Brainiac, but from the Legion. When I say Legion, not the Legion of Superheroes, the L.E.G.I.O.N.
Did you need to
We
put the
had
numbers behind it too?
exactly, because every year it was like Legion 89, Legion 90, Legion 91, Legion 92. So they kept changing the numbers. So we see him, but then we also see, so that's Virl Dox,
Real
who
talk,
is
yeah.
right, who is that Brainiac. But he is basically met by one of the Brainiacs, or the head, the Prime Brainiac, if you want to call it, for lack of a better term, who tells him he's basically a disappointment. Um, and we come to find out that as they are talking, although um, uh, he has acquired all the knowledge, there's one thing that he still does not know, that he still doesn't have the knowledge of. Um, and although it's never actually said, it seems to me as though what he's missing is he's missing the knowledge of love. Um,
Yes, that kind of at least bare minimum companionship, but it's definitely
right,
going to get to the point of love. And he imprisons this version of his son, what it looks like in a just in a room, not in a jail cell. And inside there is a figure who Vril recognizes and calls out as his mother, and that's where that issue caps off. So
right,
you can definitely see the underlying theme of like Brainiac trying to dabble in emotions, whether it be with his kid in this backup story, creating a queen for his rulership. The like it's just saving the city from his home world. It's definitely he's emotionally a wreck right now, quite
yeah.
literally breaking him.
Exactly, and the art, I love the art in this backup story. It was done by Mirko Kolek, but it had very much had an Alex Mileev type of
Yeah, and you
a
never
vibe to it.
see anybody clearly. Everyone's
Right,
always at least partially covered in shadow. It was interesting.
right,
It really lended to the dialogue and the weight of the tone of the story. About eight
right.
pages. Uh,
Almost as though no one's really able or really wants to show their full selves. Almost,
mhm.
you know.
It reminded me of Danny, who typically does art with Dan Waters and a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So the next story is the backup story in Green Lantern number 11. It is Guy Gardner and the person that Guy Gardner thinks is Lobo. Um, no matter what this person tells him that he's not Lobo, he still is convinced that he is. Um, Jeremy Adams, Kevin Maguire definitely has a lot of Justice League International vibes to it as we're going through here.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
hilarious. It's just a quick little romp. It has Guy bringing in his bounty, and he with his ring at partial function, trying to call in the bounty, not capable of doing it. This not Lobo steps in and punches in the transmission form, and in doing so, put out a signal wide that I found Lobo, and thus bringing other bounty hunters to their location, all trying to claim Lobo for themselves, despite the fact that it's not Lobo, which that's where the magic of this story comes in, because the entire issue, all 8 pages, was just laughter from front to back of the banter between Guy Gardner, who's cocksure that he's got his man, and not Lobo trying to explain that he's not Lobo.
Right, exactly. I mean, he says, "Have you seen me? Have I said frag an inordinate number of times?" And he's like, "Well, maybe you're just being careful not to say it because you went to Miss Manzi's intergalactic class on manners." And then when the signal goes out, actually, a lot of other bounty hunters end up showing up as well. And there's some great dialogue there too, because one of them just wants to kill Guy Gardner just a little bit. Uh, so he talks about that. But just as they're about to end, we get this Brainiac type disembodied voice that says basically escaped prisoner found, recontainment initiated. Because if you recall, all of the people from Zarnia have ended up on Brainiac's ship. So now there's this one person that Guy Gardner has that isn't. So Brainiac actually kind of transports him and Guy Gardner to his ship, and the last page is Guy Gardner standing in the middle of a bunch of people from Zarnia, including General Takal. Looks like to his right, and the Lobo not Lobo is there as well, and Guy Gardner is there with a bunch of not Lobos, um, uh, and that's
Whole
where
bunch
we
of
all.
non-Lobos.
Exactly. So we'll get part three, the third of three parts in the next Green Lantern number 12.
Just
Um,
without trying to go down a huge rabbit hole, like how do you feel about there being so many Zarnians now? You have the Cthal's army. You have the stowaways that stayed behind in Metropolis in the Power Girl issue. You have these ones over here, like we got to kill them all, right?
well, that was going to say, I would say, ask me when all this is over, and if there's still a whole bunch of them, then it's not going to be the part of why Lobo was special is because he was the last one, you know?
Because of his own actions.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Maybe he'll get
So,
around to it becoming the last Zarnian.
yeah. Um, but if he's the last one at the end of absolute power, then I'm kind of okay with everything that they've done, because that actually would kind of add another layer to him, especially if it's his fault again. If he thought it was his fault, but then it wasn't, but then in a second chance, it does end up becoming his fault. So it'll be interesting. So and then also kind of besides Krypton, who we have Supergirl and we have Superman, but are there other races that are out there that they're thought that there were no more left and they're just in a bottle somewhere in Brainiac's? Are
Yeah.
we going to see those somewhere?
I mean, you've had like a few more Martians pop up over the years. They kind of come and go.
Yeah,
We have a lot of Kryptonians out there,
yeah.
but I mean that's a
Well,
lot
with
relative.
Zod now and everything, yeah,
Yeah, it's a
his
lot
whole thing.
relative to originally just Superman, but it's still not a lot relative to the planet that expired. But I don't know. It takes away some of the appeal for me if there's a lot of Zarnians left, because they're all crazy. They're all that would be the number one problem in the galaxy until they were all imprisoned.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And there is when someone is the last member of their race, it adds a layer of complexity to that character as well. When they're not anymore, it's basically gone. So. But last thing we're going to talk about is Suicide Squad Dream Team number 3. This is again kind of where we're starting to see Dream Team and or Absolute Power and House of Brainiac really kind of dovetail in some ways. Although here we are still basically talking about Amanda Waller, who is still convinced that she is the good guy, and is trying to convince her nephew that she's the good guy.
You'll never be able to convince her otherwise.
Right.
For context here, like this is issue 3 of 4 short series. This is clearly just put out with the intention of setting up Amanda Waller on Gamora. We covered this previously when we touched on the Free Comic Book Day stuff, but Amanda Waller is stationed on Gamora for the big battle that's going to ensue in Absolute Power. That's her base of operations, and this book is how it became her base of operations. She specializes in taking over cities, buildings, countries, planets, and that's what this is. But we get to see how many people get hurt in the process.
Right.
It's a lot.
Right, and Dreamer is still basically fighting against her. We see a lot of we see a lot of Bizarro here, who kind of understands that Dreamer may not be, even though she's part of the team, she may not be necessarily fighting for the same things that everybody else is, and so he's looking to kind of take her out too. But there's been an order from Amanda Waller that no one is to harm Dreamer because she's very important to everything that's going on here. So we see Dreamer
Having the precog on your team is a huge asset.
right.
And again, call back to Free Comic Book Day. We see what it looks like. And I feel like that takes place after this.
Yeah.
Like the Free Comic Book Day story definitely takes place after, and Dreamer is back in Waller's possession and even being questioned about the future and being used as a precog again. But I the most exciting thing for me from the week came up, like, where are you at in this book? Hold on. All right. So you got page 1, then you flip to the first 2 page with the Bizarro page, and flip one more page. The first time we see Amanda Waller, she's got the big oak desk. She's setting up shop on Gamora. She has her presidential suite. But look on the top right of that page. What do we see? Her looking at the blueprints on the top right.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Oh, all right.
So we know that we're building an Amazo army.
Right.
We know that that's happening. Failsafe is on top of that. And you have him getting the different personalities. And we know that they're going to look like different superheroes. We saw that in Free Comic Book Day. I have been saying it since before this event started. Who needs to be brought back for this Amanda Waller problem?
Yeah, I made so.
Rick Flag.
Well, Rick Flag, right. Yeah.
Rick Flag needs to be back. He's still out there. I've been reminding everybody he's not gone. He has his own dark team that's out there that's still tracking her down ever since she ran away to Earth 3. And right here on this page, Amanda Waller is looking at Amazo blueprints. And who is it? Which Amazo is it? Rick freaking Flag.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was looking at the other page. I was looking at this page in the upper right. Top
right.
Corner. Yeah. Yep.
Finally get our first legitimate clue that Rick Flag needs to be remembered in all of this. Dude, I flipped my lid when I saw that.
It is kind of, when you can see things, so far ahead. I mean, it's kind of, and when you see what you think is going to happen come to fruition, it's kind of like, okay, you know what? I feel good. I feel like I'm in sync with what they're trying to do, and so that's why it really does come to. It really is great when you can make those connections, especially that early, because you've been pushing Rick Flag since Earth 3. So anyway, the group ends up finding Dreamer. It's Dreamer against basically the whole group, against Clock King, against Alice, against Bizarro. Basically. Alice is able to take her down in the end, but Alice is taken down at the end, and basically they communicate back to Waller. Dreamer is down, heading back to you. So we'll get the final chapter of this in the next issue. But it looks like it's all about to come to a head again with Dreamer and Waller together again. So.
Yeah, this was such a fun issue. It really just leans into how good of a person Dreamer is, and like the contrast between the people she's working with And the unfortunate diabolicalness of Amanda Waller, just no shame.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, she is. It's
Wrath,
the yeah, but
wrath.
the yeah, but also the a lot of times the most vilest villains consider themselves to be the best people in the
Righteous.
world.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Who thinks she's on a righteous crusade. Now, and I'm excited about this because coming up, we'll be covering Absolute Power. And inside of that, we're supposed to be getting an Amanda Waller one shot because there'll be a couple of one shots. It's not going to be an overblown event, but there's going to be like some like context one shots. And we're going to be getting one on Waller that's supposed to be diving into the loss of her husband, I believe, because we know that she lost her husband. She blames people with powers, but we haven't really seen why or the details of it. So
Yeah, that's
we'll
actually going
see.
to be it's actually going to be a mini series, um, by John Ridley, um, whose name we say we don't say lightly here, but
Whose
um,
name? No,
John Ridley.
oh God, is he writing it?
He's writing it. Yeah. Um,
Well,
the
disregard everything I said. Whatever's written about her history automatically can't be canon, I guess.
yeah, so it's like a 3 or 4 issue miniseries, I think. But
I hope it's good. I'm looking forward to
the
it.
solicitations for the second part of Absolute Power just came out this past week, and apparently they are planning some sort of big betrayal by a member of the Justice League. So looking
Green
forward
Arrow.
to that. Could be that
It's
one
gonna be a
almost seemed
fake.
like
It's
it's
gonna
too
be a
easy.
fake betrayal.
Mm, could be, could be. But yeah, that's going to do it for this edition of DC Comics Deep Dive. Again, great entries for House of Brainiac and Countdown to Absolute Power. But don't forget again to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, leave a comment for us. Let us know how we're doing and how you're liking these things in the lead up to Countdown to Absolute Power. But that's going to be it. I am Paul. He is Mark.
We're Legion.
And you're now leaving sector 2815.